Hi, it's Phyllis with Central Texas Crafter. So one of the things that you'll find that you need are some stir sticks or paint stirrers. And so I've purchased these tongue suppressors, and as you can tell, I reuse them. I purchased quite a few for classes that I taught last year, and this is the box that I purchased, and they're called wax applicator. I also purchased canvas boards, canvas panel boards to practice with, and a lot of times these are great for starting out with new techniques, learning something new. I did do quite a few of these last year, and I was able to sell these at craft fairs, the finished product. So you can do quite a bit of painting with those. I've also used containers that come with food in them, like these cottage cheese, pimento cheese. I have yogurt containers, and I use these for large amounts of paint. Like whenever I paint a painting, I'll use a large amount of white paint to put a base coat, and then usually in the pour itself I'll use more white than anything else. So those are handy. I also purchased a set, and I forgot how many, maybe 24 of these food containers. And you can tell I use them quite a bit. And again, I used them when teaching a class last year. So what I'll do is I'll set these up, and usually under a larger painting than this canvas panel, but I'll set it up and prop the painting up on it so that the paint will drip off the sides, and then I can use that paint for other things like creating jewelry, skins, or things like that. What I have the paint dripping onto is called freezer paper, and I buy that at the local grocery store. And once the paint dries, you can just peel the skins up. They call them skins. I also use paper towels, quite a bit of paper towels. And then for mixing the paint, I buy these 9-ounce cups at our local grocery store and reuse them. And so I don't buy these very often, but again, these are great for adding all the paints in when you're doing a pour, or for putting in white paint. They're a good size. Another thing that I purchased that I feel like I've reused quite a bit of are these little 2-ounce plastic containers. Again, it feels a little bit wasteful. I grew up in an age when you were taught to reuse what you had. You didn't want to buy and throw away, and especially with all the concern about plastic these days in the landfills. But and it looks like they're recyclable, so that's good. But I do use these quite a bit, especially when I'm teaching classes. So last year in a class that I taught, I was able to mix up the paint and then put them in these 2-ounce containers and let the participants pick out which colors they wanted instead of going around and squirting paint in everybody's cup. I also use nitrile gloves. Now, these gloves I purchased last year. I got them off Amazon. And I don't even know if you can get them this year, but if you can, that's the kind that I bought. For my hand, for my size hand, medium works well. I can use a small, which I have, but they're pretty tight, and that's a little bit uncomfortable. I also reuse prepared meal trays. So if you buy prepared meals at your grocery store and then heat them up, these are good for painting. Okay, so let's talk about paints. So when you do acrylic pour painting, you use acrylic paints and usually a medium, some kind of pouring medium, paint medium. And so I purchased Floetrol by the gallon at Home Depot. You can also get it from Amazon, but I think you can only get it in quart size. I did do that initially, and they come with these containers that you can use to store your paint. So that was a good deal when I first did that. I also purchased, so I have several different types of containers, again, for teaching classes, right? So I pre-mix the Floetrol and the acrylic paint ahead of time. Sometimes I'll put a little bit of distilled water in there, depending on what the effect is. Usually I just do that when I get ready to paint. And then the paint that I've been buying, I have 3 different ones that I buy. I buy Liquitex Basics. You can buy the 6-pack. And I look for the coupon, so I've been buying this at Michael's with a 50% or 40% off coupon whenever I get these. They're squeeze tube type paints and take a little bit more Floetrol, so it may be more than 1-to-1 because of the thickness of the paint. spent a little bit more money and purchased golden colors, and I like these a lot. Again, they're very thick in a tube, but and they're pretty expensive, so with a 50% coupon it's doable. But and the paint goes a really long way. Paint that's easiest to use and a lot of beginners start with is Deco Art. You can get these at Joann or Michael's. I've seen them at Joann's for about $1.50. So if you watch for sales, you can get these pretty inexpensive. It's 2 ounces of paint. When you mix it up with Floetrol, that's about 4 ounces of paint, which is a good amount of paint. I also buy this Sargent acrylic paint. I buy that off Amazon. It's fairly inexpensive, goes a long way. And one of the things that I've also purchased is silicone. And I originally bought the automotive kind, but recently I've been using Cell Magic, which is just the same product, I'm sure. Okay, one of the things that you need to learn about painting with acrylics is that there's different types of paint opacity. So this is considered an opaque paint, and I'll put the chart in the YouTube description for this video. But some of these paints are considered opaque. Most of them are opaque. There's a semi-opaque. For example, this Whispering Turquoise, really pretty color, is considered a semi-opaque. And then there's transparent. And all I have left of that one, it's also a Deco Art, is Purple Pizzazz. What will happen is when you create your poured painting, the transparent paint is thinner and the denser paints will drop down, and it'll create kind of a cell look to it, or a different look to it than the other paints will. So if you buy all opaque paints, they're all going to be the same thickness. But if you buy and combined some of the other types of paints, then you will see the paint change as it's poured. Okay, the paints that I'll use today, I'm going to use Bluegrass Green. Use that across the bottom. This will be upside down for you, but it doesn't matter whether it goes one way or the other because I'll be swiping both directions. Alright, so I put a little bit of the Bluegrass Green. The next one I'm going to put, I believe, will be this Whispering Turquoise, and this one's a semi-opaque. So a swipe is a lot of fun. You can put different colors, swipe it more than once. I mean, I've added balloon kisses. I've done all kinds of things. Now this one is turquoise. I'm sorry, it's desert turquoise. So it's a little bit darker blue. I've already pre-mixed these. You can see on top it says mix. Again, this is for that class that I taught, or those classes that I taught. I'm going to add some Purple Pizzazz. Now it is a transparent paint, so I'm going to put it here in the middle. And I want to use, actually I think I'm going to put some white. Again, this is that Sargent white, already pre-mixed in a bigger bottle. I use a lot of white, so I use these bigger bottles for the white. Look at all the bubbles. And I will add this baby pink, really pretty color. And Bahama Blue. Look at that color. It's really pretty. Oops, very tropical. So I do want to put white. So you can tell down here my green is already falling off, and the other color is heavier, I guess, because it's pushed it off. But I'm going to put some white at the top, and that's what I'll be pouring with. Alright, so on a swipe like this, I use paper towels. So I buy the kind where the size can be cut in half. And then I wet it with the distilled water. And then grab the white at the bottom. I'm going to lay it on top of the white part, hopefully. There we go. And then I'll be swiping that over the other colors. I didn't get very much white, but that's okay. It's going to look great. And then, a lot of times, I'll go back the other way. I think I'm going to wait and see what happens though. I like the way this is looking already. Now, what you'll see here is the Purple Pizzazz is starting to look like it's popping up, and really the other paint's thicker and it's weighing down and spreading it out some. So I'm going to heat gun this real quick. So, alright, so you can tell that the paint is coming up from the bottom there. Another thing I want to try today is the chain pull, because it just looks really pretty, and I think the chain pull will add to that effect. I'm going to put it in this Purple Pizzazz over here and get paint on it basically. And then bring it down. It creates a really pretty effect. Okay, I'm trying to get some more paint on this side. My chain pull, my chain is a little bit dried up with paint, so it's not doing quite as good as it could, but that's all right. So this is going to be a very springtime look. So when you're working with acrylic paint, you want to make sure it's well ventilated, especially if you add any silicone. I didn't add any silicone to these paints today. I just wanted to do it natural, I guess. All right, I'm going to do one more little one over here. It's basically grabbing the paint with that chain pull design and then pulling it down. Okay, and I'm going to try using the other side of this chain. Hopefully I can do it without creating too much of a mess. And put a little bit of purple paint right on it, the Purple Pizzazz. Really nice effect. I'll do that middle one again. So these are the things that I do. Sometimes people are better disciplined than I am, but I'll go in more than once a lot of times and then hope that it turns out okay. A lot of times it does. So some people will say, oh, you don't want to go in more than once, you're just going to mess it up. But you know, if you mess it up, you can either scrape it off and start over, or you can paint on top of it. So I don't worry about it too much. Ooh, that looks really pretty. All right, so what I'll do now is I'll clean off my gloves and heat gun it again and then let it dry. I like the way that looks. Very good. So when I did swipe from the top, you can see I pulled a little bit of that paint off. However, I think it's okay. I can wait and see how that dries, but I think it'll be okay. What you'll notice as it dries too, some of the other colors are going to pop up or pop through, creating little dots. Like I think that's the baby pink popping up. Looks really pretty. I like that a lot. All right, so I will let it dry. In a few days I'll add the end result on the video and you'll get to see it. Thanks.